told you it was love. They convinced you it was normal. They made you believe the problem was you. But somewhere beneath the confusion, the self-doubt, the endless explanations that never quite made sense, you knew something was wrong. This is where we stop pretending. This is where we examine what they never wanted you to see. The patterns that controlled you, the systems that protected them.
The Bleacher Report app is your destination for sports. Right now, the NBA's heating up, March Madness is here, and MLB is almost back. Every day there's a new headline, a new highlight, a new moment you've got to see for yourself. That's why I stay locked in with the Bleacher Report app. For me, it's about staying connected to my sports. I can follow the teams I care about, get real-time scores, breaking news, and highlights all in one place. Download the Bleacher Report app today so you never miss a moment.
You know that bone-deep exhaustion that has nothing to do with how many hours you slept. The kind that settles in after you've spent the entire evening managing someone else's mood, anticipating their needs, smoothing over tension that wasn't yours to begin with. That's not regular tired. That's the weight of work nobody else can see you doing. Welcome back to the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'm Lynn, your host. Today we're talking about emotional labor, the invisible workload women carry in relationships, families, and social spaces. And here's what matters. This isn't about you being too sensitive or caring too much. This is about how patriarchal culture systematically trains women to be responsible for everyone else's emotional well-being, while our own gets ignored or minimized. Let's get clear on what emotional labor actually is. It's the work of managing, processing, and responding to emotions, yours and other people's. It's remembering someone's bad day at work and checking in later. It's noticing tension in a room and working to diffuse it. It's translating your feelings in 17 different ways, hoping someone will finally hear you. It's the mental load of tracking what everyone needs emotionally and making sure those needs get met. And here's the part that makes my blood pressure rise. We're taught this is just what women do naturally, like we're born with some magical emotional caretaking gene that men somehow don't have. That's garbage. This is learned behavior, and it starts early. Little girls get praised for being thoughtful, for noticing when someone's upset, for making peace. Boys get told to toughen up, that feelings are weak, that crying is shameful. By the time we're adults, women have spent decades practicing emotional management while men have spent decades avoiding it. Then we end up in relationships where that imbalance plays out every single day, and we're told it's natural. It's not natural. It's conditioning. Think about what this looks like in your own life. You're the one who remembers birthdays, plans gatherings, manages the social calendar so nobody's feelings get hurt. You're tracking everyone's emotional state like air traffic control, making sure nothing crashes. You're explaining your feelings over and over, breaking them down into smaller pieces, finding new words, hoping this time they'll land. You're absorbing stress from your household like a sponge, because if you don't, everything falls apart. And the worst part, nobody sees it as work. When you remember to call his mother, that's just being nice. When you notice your partner's mood shift and adjust your behavior accordingly, that's just being considerate. When you spend an hour carefully explaining why something hurt you, that's just communication. But it's work, real work, and you're doing it alone. Here's what happens in the early stages of dating. You meet someone who seems great, but there's this nagging feeling that you're doing all the emotional heavy lifting. You're the one checking in. You're the one asking about their day, their feelings, their needs. You're the one making sure misunderstandings get cleared up. And when something bothers you, you find yourself crafting the perfect explanation. Not too emotional, not too demanding, just clear enough that maybe they'll understand without getting defensive. You tell yourself they just need more context. They just don't realize. They're just not used to talking about feelings. So you explain again and again. You workshop your words. You try different approaches. You manage your tone. And the whole time, you're doing double the emotional work, processing your own feelings while also managing how those feelings get received. This shows up in long-term relationships too. You're the one tracking everyone's stress levels. You can tell when your partner had a hard day before they say a word, and you're already adjusting, making dinner easier, keeping the house quieter, giving them space. But when you have a hard day, you're still expected to show up the same way. Your stress doesn't get that kind of accommodation because someone would have to notice it first. And noticing is your job, not theirs. You're managing emotional fallout that isn't yours. Someone's upset about something completely unrelated to you, but you're the one absorbing it, trying to fix it, making it better. You become responsible for other people's comfort in a way that nobody's ever been responsible for yours. And in family dynamics, this gets amplified to an absurd degree. You're coordinating schedules, remembering preferences, managing relationships between people who can't be bothered to manage them themselves. You're the one making sure grandma gets a call, that tensions between relatives don't explode, that everyone feels included and considered. Meanwhile, the people who could be doing this work are off living their lives, completely unburdened because you've got it handled. The cultural lie is that this comes naturally to women, that we're just better at this stuff. That's not what's happening. What's happening is we've been trained since childhood to prioritize everyone else's emotional needs above our own. And men have been trained that feelings are someone else's problem. Then we meet in relationships and families, and that training plays out exactly as designed. Women do the emotional work. Men benefit from it, and everyone calls it normal. You're exhausted because you're doing work that should be shared, but isn't. You're running a whole emotional infrastructure that nobody else sees or values. And when you try to talk about it, you get told you're overthinking, you're too sensitive, you're making a big deal out of nothing. That's gaslighting. What you're experiencing is real, it's measurable, and it's crushing. Here's what I need you to understand. Your exhaustion is not a personal failing. It's not because you're bad at boundaries, or you care too much, or you're doing relationships wrong. You're tired because you're carrying a load that was never meant to be carried by one person. The system set this up. Patriarchal culture benefits when women do unrecognized emotional labor because it keeps relationships and families and workplaces functioning without anyone having to pay for that labor or even acknowledge it exists. This isn't about individual men being terrible. This is about all of us growing up in a culture that teaches very specific lessons about whose feelings matter and whose job it is to manage them. And those lessons have consequences. They show up every time you explain your feelings to someone who isn't listening. Every time you smooth over tension that isn't yours. Every time you carry emotional weight nobody else can see. The reframe here is simple but necessary. When you're exhausted from emotional labor, that's not you failing. That's you bumping up against a system that was designed to extract this work from you for free. You were taught this is what love looks like, what care looks like, what being a good partner or daughter or friend looks like. But care should go both ways. Emotional work should be shared, and your feelings should matter just as much as everyone else's. So here's what I want you to sit with. When have you noticed yourself carrying emotional work that others don't even see or acknowledge. Not in a specific story, just in your life, generally. Where does this pattern show up? Who benefits from your emotional labor? And what would it look like if you stopped doing work that was never yours to begin with? This is Lynn, and this has been another episode of the Narcissistic Abuse Recovery Podcast. I'll see you in the next one. Visit our website at movingforwardafterabuse.com for articles, resources, and more support on your recovery journey.
Few things are as uplifting as the greatest moments in sports. And nothing brings us together quite like Team USA at the Olympic Winter Games. From NBC Universal's iconic storytelling to the innovative technology across Xfinity and Peacock, Comcast brings the Olympic Games home to America, sharing every moment with millions. When Team USA steps onto the world stage, we're not just watching, we're cheering together. This winter, we're all on the same team. Comcast, proud partner of Team USA.
This work is hard, really hard. Questioning everything you were taught, seeing systems that were invisible, sitting with truth that change how you see the world. It's exhausting and overwhelming sometimes. There's no timeline for this, no right way to process it. We've gone daily now because these conversations matter. Subscribe so new episodes land automatically when they drop.